My senior year of college, I set out to build a microbial fuel cell entirely from household items. A microbial fuel cell utilizes a bacteria's metabolic process to generate electricity. A microbial fuel cell is composed of two halves, aerobic and anaerobic, with an electrode in each. Anaerobic bacteria grows on the anode in the anaerobic chamber. As the bacteria generates energy, it takes in glucose and outputs carbon dioxide, and protons. Because the anaerobic half has no oxygen, its electrode is used as the electron receptor for the bacteria's metabolic process. The two chambers are connected by a semi-permeable membrane. As the protons are generated by the bacteria, a proton gradient between the two halves of the cell is formed, causing the protons to flow through. The membrane keeps oxygen out while facilitating the movement of the protons. The electrons from the bacteria on the anode flow out of the anaerobic chamber to the cathode in the aerobic chamber, passing through a resistor. The electrons from the cathode combine with dissolved oxygen and the hydrogen ions to form water. As the bacteria grow and flourish, the fuel cell continues to produce electricity. Typical construction of a microbial fuel cell requires carbon fiber electrodes, a proton exchange membrane, and anaerobic bacteria. These materials can be expensive, hard to find, and difficult to work with. By making a few simple substitutions with everyday items, I was able to build a successful microbial fuel cell within a limited budget. For the electrode, I needed a source of carbon for the bacteria to grow on. While in Girl Scouts, I learned about char cloth, an easy fire starter. By slowly cooking a cotton cloth at a low temperature, the cloth undergoes pyrolysis, reducing it to carbon form. This carbon can then be used to easily build a fire or provide a lovely home for bacteria. I wrapped my char cloth in some scrap metal mesh from the university's machine shop to create my anode. A few of the papers I read about microbial fuel cells mentioned using the bacteria Bacillus. When researching the bacteria further, I discovered it usually inhabits marshes and wetlands. Much to my surprise, Tucson has a wetland in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. Bacillus contributes to the decomposition cycle in the wetlands ecosystem. So I collected mud from a part where I saw the plants decomposing. To keep my bacillus happy, I decided to fill the anaerobic chamber with their mud and submerge the anode in it, utilizing their existing anaerobic environment rather than creating one. Lastly, I needed to connect my anaerobic and aerobic chambers with a proton exchange membrane. During one of my chemistry courses, I learned about salt bridges used in galvanic cells to allow ions to move between solutions. I found that salt bridges can be easily constructed by adding salt when making gelatin. I then poured my gelatin mixture into the container and it set in the perfect shape. With these difficult items accounted for, I was able to build a successful microbial fuel cell that produced electricity entirely from lake mud. With my model successfully completed, I presented my design to a few science teachers from the local middle school and high school. I was able to illustrate how the microbial fuel cell demonstrated some of the key topics covered in the required curriculum, such as cellular energy production, basic circuit construction, and basic biochemistry. They were impressed by its simple construction and commented it would be perfect for an in-class demo to encourage their students' continued interest in science.